Welcome, everyone. We are so excited to host you here today. So how many folks are local to the Bay Area? Okay, beautiful. And how many folks have attended other events at the RSA? Okay, great. So you guys are here because you care about cybersecurity. And one of the things you probably know from the events you've attended, some of them, talked about maybe some numbers between last year to this year, increase in cyber threats, increase in ransomware attacks, 120% from last year, the year before to last year. Now, can you imagine when you put generative AI into the picture, what all is possible? So you guys have your work cut ahead of you, right? My name is Chetna, and I've been with Accenture. I'm going to pause for reaction, 27 years. See, there you go. Get that every single time. And I'm really excited to be here. My role is I'm on point for our global capability and delivery for our Accenture Google Business Group. And that is a very exciting place to be when it comes to those two powerhouses in terms of security, cybersecurity specifically. So Google, you all know, is amazing in terms of being able to address all of the, denial of services threats, probably the most any other corporation has received in the world, yet no impact. And I love it when Googlers say, you know what, wouldn't you like to be like us when it comes to security? And Accenture, I'm proud of being part of Accenture as well. We are huge, 25 plus million endpoints monitored by Accenture. That's a large number. 77 countries, 3,100 plus clients for security and growing actually. But it's not just about the numbers, right? We are excited about the technology and the cutting edge innovation we are bringing to the table with Google. Have folks heard about MXDR, the announcements? Okay. If you haven't, check it out. We are very proud to bring MXDR into the world. It was announced in RSA between Accenture and Google this week. So all that said, the numbers are great, but what we are most proud about is our people. We have 16,000 plus professionals in security in Accenture worldwide. And again, that number is growing. And we are proud of our diversity. And that's what today is about. Our people, the diversity, and how we bring all that together for you guys. We have an amazing group of panels. But before we go to that, I'm going to hand it over to Anne to talk some more. But again, welcome to Accenture. As I said, we are totally ecstatic to have you here.
Hi, everybody. It's so great to see so many familiar faces in the room, friends from Cyversity, friends from Berkeley, folks who joined us for this event last year. And for those of you I haven't met, my name is Anne Cleveland. I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Long-Term Cybersecurity at UC Berkeley. And we are so proud to be co-hosting this event with our partners at Cyversity, who you will hear from in a moment. But I first just want to say thank you so much to our hosts at Accenture for having us here in your beautiful space, your wonderful team, events team, and audiovisual team. We couldn't be more grateful to be able to have this event in this space. So the Center for Long-Term Cybersecurity at Berkeley has a mission to focus on the future of cybersecurity, amplify the upside of the digital revolution, and expand who participates in and who has access to cybersecurity. So I couldn't be more excited about today's conversation. So appreciate all of you for being here compared to all the other invitations you had for lunchtime at RSA. It is really a testament that you all know how important this conversation is. And want to thank our panelists so much also for being here and sharing their expertise. So I'm really looking forward to this important conversation. And I'm looking forward to the conversations with all of you afterwards. Over to you, MK.
So bear with me, folks. My name is MK Palmore. We got a couple of thank yous we probably need to get out of the way before we get started. First, as the representative from Cyversity, I'm the vice president of Cyversity and also a member of the board of directors. And also, in my third hat, part of the leadership team that launched the Bay Area chapter. I want to thank our colleagues at CLTC who have been tremendous partners with us in putting on events like this, staking out this time during RSA so that we could cultivate this topic and really bring what you guys see before you here, a diverse slate of people who all are interested in tackling this issue of increasing the presence of women, people of color, veterans, and others into the field of cybersecurity. So one, give yourselves a round of applause because this is what diversity looks like. As Ann indicated, there's a lot of pulling interest during this week. I've now been to RSA almost 10 times over the course of a decade. And I feel like this week, folks really make judgments about how they want to spend their time. So the fact that you're in these seats, sitting, willing to contribute to this conversation, willing to identify this as a priority for you, we are really appreciative of it. So I mentioned in the opening what the mission set of Cyversity is, but I want to take a couple of seconds to explain that we continue to be a growing organization dedicated to bringing women, people of color, and veterans into the cybersecurity space. It's such an important topic. In my day job, I'm a senior cybersecurity leader with Google Cloud. And I can tell you that because this topic resonates across industry, and because we are in such desperate need of additional people to join this industry, to thrive in it and grow in it, we all, as a matter of our time spent with Cyversity and these other functions, we devote a significant amount of our time to ensuring that we can address this issue, bring additional folks to the table, but really help to cultivate the opportunities that exist in this industry for everyone. So we're super appreciative that you showed up here. Again, thank you to CLTC for the continuing partnership. Thank you to Accenture for the opportunity to host this event in this space. If you guys are in the audience and you participated and or attended last year, you now realize that I think we're about to put a marker in the sand. And I think that CLTC and Cyversity, we're probably going to stake this time out every year at RSA, bring folks together for this very important conversation. But I think the success of what you see here in the audience, what we were able to do last year, means that there are lots of folks that are keying in on this subject, allies and otherwise, folks who really want to help drive the needle on this particular topic. So thank you for being here. I'm going to now open for some remarks from the Chief Diversity Officer from Google. Melanie Parker could not be here in person for this event, but we asked and pleaded, and she did record some remarks. So that's going to be the kickoff for this very impressive grouping of powerhouse women leaders who are going to lead the discussion today. And I'm really excited that you guys are here. So thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry that I'm unable to attend this event in person, but I am delighted to give the opening remarks. We know that the cybersecurity landscape is constantly evolving, and Google continues to understand the importance of the role that we play in protecting our billions of users. And that's why it's so important that we have a diverse workforce of cybersecurity professionals who can bring a variety of perspectives and experiences to the table, really to address the constantly emerging threats. This leads to a wide range of ideas and solutions that represent the needs of our diverse user base. From a talent perspective, when people see themselves represented in the cybersecurity industry, they're more likely to see themselves in roles within that field. And so as you talk today about increasing and cultivating diverse leadership in this field, I want you to remember ensuring the development of diverse leaders is a cornerstone of any well-functioning organization. And this message deserves to be heard and to be discussed. I am so proud that Google has been a longtime supporter of this work and is an active participant with diversity-focused organizations in cybersecurity. I'm confident that as we continue to work together, we can continue to progress a more diverse and inclusive cybersecurity industry. A big thank you to our sponsors, Cyversity, Accenture, and UC Berkeley's Center for Long-Term Cybersecurity. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the networking opportunities and the discussion, and be empowered to lead from your seat in all that you learned today. Thank you.
That was so inspiring. And it is now my very great pleasure to introduce our keynote, Christy Wyatt, who is the president and CEO of Absolute Software, joining us all the way from Canada. Absolute is the only provider of self-healing intelligent security solutions and the only endpoint provider embedded in over 600 million devices globally. A Silicon Valley veteran, Christy has deep experience and expertise spanning cybersecurity, enterprise mobility, embedded platforms, IoT, enterprise software, and data science. Prior to Absolute, she served as the CEO of DTech Systems and is chairman, president, and CEO of Good Technology, now BlackBerry. Christy has also held a variety of technology leadership roles at Citigroup, Motorola, Apple, Palm, and Sun Microsystems. She currently serves on the board of directors of LM Ericsson and Silicon Labs, and has previously served on the boards of Quotient Technologies, Good Technology, DTEX, Centrify, and the Linux Foundation. Christy was recently recognized as CEO of the Year by Globe and Mail. She has also been awarded one of the top 50 women leaders in SaaS in 2019, and has been named one of Inc. magazine's top 50 women entrepreneurs of America, Information Security's CEO of the Year, and a Fierce Wireless Most Influential Woman in Wireless. So we are so grateful, Christy, to have you here to open with our keynote, hear more about your journey, your distinguished career as a leader, and have this conversation with you. So thank you.
Thank you. Am I live? I was just sitting there thinking, we have to make this bio so much shorter. Thank you so much for coming. I do know how busy RSA week is. It is back to back to back to back. And I'm actually thinking you guys came because the food is better here and because it's quiet here. You can find a place to sit. So thank you. Thank you for coming and spending it with me. I have to do this because regardless of where you came from, we are first and foremost a room full of geeks. And so we're going to get this out of the way. You've never heard of Absolute before, and that's okay. I hadn't either. We are embedded in every PC you've ever owned before. We are embedded in the BIOS. There's a whole bunch of stuff we do. Some of it's kind of creepy, but most of it means that we monitor the rest of your security applications and we make them better. So if your CrowdStrike or your Tanium or whatever else you care about stops working, we make it better. We are headquartered in Vancouver. I do live both here and in Vancouver. And if you care, you can go to absolute.com. We published some very cool research on Monday about all of the security applications you use and why they're only working 70% of the time you think they're working. And because you're all security professionals now, you should be afraid. All right. That doesn't mean you should pull out your phones because this is what we're going to talk about now. I was terrified to come and give this talk. And Karen, my comps person who's worked with me for more than 10 years, she will tell you I'm terrified every time somebody asks me to come and talk about this because I'm a woman in tech. And I've spent my entire career trying to not talk about the fact that I'm a woman in tech. And so it is awkward. And especially when I was actually invited by our head of HR, who is Dr. Robert Booker. He will remind you, Dr. Robert Booker. He came and said, Berkeley would like you to come and talk about how we cultivate a more diverse universe of leadership within cybersecurity. And like, that's not intimidating at all, right? Because there's a ton of science behind this that I am not an HR professional and I am not intimate within the HR science in any way, shape, or form. What I am incredibly passionate about is building high performance teams. So that is what I care about. I am a CEO. I believe CEOs are responsible for culture. And I believe that our job is to drive performance within the organization. And I believe deeply to my core that you have to have an inclusive, diverse team in order to drive performance. So I care about diversity because if you don't have a diverse team, You cannot have a high performance team. And I believe it fundamentally because I've seen it. I believe it that if you have a choir and they only sing one note, it's not much of a song. And so I think that we see it over and over again. And so that is why I believe that diversity is such a core part of our fabric as an organization. But I believe it's that connection that makes it so fundamental. That said, if you're asked, me, Christy, an engineer, product person, to come and talk to a room full of people about driving this, from a leadership perspective, it's quite intimidating. You think, what possible science can you bring to a room full of people who study this professionally? And the answer is, I have been a woman in tech for 25 years. So, when we were creating the very first programs to inspire young girls to go into engineering, right? The girl in the room saying, get in and go write code, right? That was me. When I went into college the first year and they said, look around you, 50% of you, this course is so grueling, 50% of you will be gone by Christmas. There's 2 girls in the room and 599 sets of eyes all looked at me and said, she'll be gone by December 25th. And that fueled me, right? That became my energy. That became the thing that got me through the weekends and the late nights and through every day, because I thought, I will be the last person that leaves this, over my cold, dead body will I be getting dragged out of this room. And by Christmas, I was the top of my class, despite the fact that I had started the year probably knowing less about programming than anybody else that had walked into that building in the history of the universe. But there was just no way you were going to kind of put me in that box. So the only girl in school that was writing code, that was me. The only girl on the team, the only girl, let's get women into leadership roles, that was me. I was the target for those programs. The only girl in the senior leadership team, that was me. Hey, let's get girls onto boards, public boards, that was also me. So my expertise is not coming from the creation of HR programs. My experience comes from being the target of those programs. And I think that gives me, maybe, and possibly some of you, a unique experience, because in some cases, that was incredibly empowering. Somebody saw me and they valued me and they gave me some support. And in other cases, it identified me and it isolated me and it made me stand out, and I did not love it. And so now I'm on the other side of the fence. Now I am supposed to be championing change, and I am the leader of culture for these organizations. And I'm supposed to create an environment where people feel empowered, and we're supposed to create high performance teams. And you really, really desperately hope that people understand how passionately you care about this and that it's landing well for them in a way that maybe sometimes it didn't for you. And so, when we think about some of the programs that we've run within our environment, you try to think about where are the places where, for me personally, it worked well, right? And I try to separate in my mind, where there was good intentions versus where I was feeling good. And we'll kind of talk about some of those examples. Because I think that even when I talk with, and I don't want to shock you, but not everybody gets this yet. There are many, many people with very, very good intentions at all levels of the organization. I spent a lot of time with boards, public boards that I work with, other boards that are just trying to figure it out. And they desperately want to understand, how do we build more diversity in the boardroom? How do we build more diverse organizations? And they're asking all of the obvious questions, right? How do we build the talent pipeline? How do we get more women through management? How do we get them into the top tier? And they don't necessarily understand how sometimes the intentions and the emotions don't necessarily line up. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. I absolutely believe we have to invest in the programs around empowerment, and we have to enablement, and we have to allow employees to feel empowered. And it's about the whole organization. The whole organization has to feel it. When we're looking at within any one of the teams that I've worked with, it's not just about empowering the individual. It has to be about empowering the team. And therefore, the whole team has to see the value. And at Absolute, we have a mantra, how we talk about the organization is we talk about one team, one number, right? We talk about the whole team has to win. It has to be about performance. right? Remember, I said that I value high performance teams. So therefore, if I want people to value the diverse perspective, our decision-making process, why we want to look at things from a variety of different angles, then they have to see the impact that that's having on performance. They have to see it. They have to feel it. It has to matter to them. It has to matter to their rewards and to their system. It has to be a part of how we think about how we're running the organization. Otherwise, it feels like something separate and distinct. Now, how do you know when you're getting this wrong? Right? You know you're getting this wrong when you're spending a lot of money and you're talking about, we're doing so much, we're filling more roles, we're hitting our KPIs and our requirements, and the feedback you're getting from your employee population is not, hey, this is amazing. It's, people feel resentment. People feel, I don't understand. I'm not going to get promoted because I'm not in that camp, or I'm not going to get, and you have tension sort of between the camps. It means they're not getting it. They're not understanding. They're not seeing the acceleration in the business. They're not feeling the empowerment. They're not feeling the enrichment of having sort of the broader set of voices. And so that means as a leader, I'm failing. I'm not helping them understand the connection between the two various different pieces. So one team, one number, we need to make sure that folks understand the connection between the investment we're making in our business, and we're celebrating what's powering the improvement in our performance, which is the investment we're making in diversity. The way I describe this within the organization, and this is something I learned very early on in my career as a manager, is culture is a function of what you reward. And this sounds a little oversimplified, and if you've been in any one of my teams, you are so sick of hearing this because I say it probably every week. But it means that if you say something is important to you, but then you align what you celebrate in a different way, people see that so transparently. And a great example would say, we love teamwork. We are one big team. But then in your all company meeting, you celebrate the hero who closed the big deal and saved the quarter. Well, you didn't celebrate the team, did you? You didn't celebrate the whole team that rallied together and closed the quarter. You celebrated the hero. So you don't actually celebrate teamwork. Your reward, what you're celebrating, is not necessarily aligned with what you said was important to you. So culture is a function of what you reward. And so therefore, when you set up your reward system within the organization, it has to reflect what is most important to you, right? I said, I believe in high performance teams. I value, we align our reward system around performance within the business, and then we celebrate sort of what drives us towards getting a better outcome within the organization. So that means that when we say that something is really important to us, then our reward system has to kind of fuel what is behind that. So now I'm going to give you a pop quiz. All right. So I've said a couple of different things. What I've said is culture is a function of what you reward, right? What you say is important to you, and then what you reward has to be aligned. I've said what we want is a high performance team. And I've said that we believe that diversity fuels high performance. So when we're setting up reward systems within the organization, we should set up incentives and rewards aligned with. No? What? What? You thought I was going to say diversity. I know, right? How could I be so wrong? Here's the problem, right? Inclusion is about the how, it's not the what, right? If this would work. There we go. We want to reward the performance. We want to reward the business is getting faster. We want people to understand that it's a result of the investment we're making in our business by creating a more diverse organization, and that's what's driving the performance. And I'm going to go through some examples that we use in order to make, sort of help align that feeling and that action and that investment with the outcome, so that people are making the connection with we're investing here and we're seeing the outcome there. And it becomes very personal. Within our company, people all get paid on the same thing. There's no individual goals. We have profitability and growth targets, and when we hit them, everybody gets their bonus. And so therefore, there's no sort of, I did my part and you didn't do yours, and everybody sort of, it's one team, one number. So we sort of share that goal. So therefore, if the business is doing well and we're achieving against our goals, folks are going to understand sort of the linkage between them. And why is that important? That's important because we need folks to make the connection between this is good for the business, this is good for all of us. We all win when we have a broader set of perspectives, when we have a broader set of approaches to solving problems, and we are doing this in a more inclusive way. And they don't get there if they feel like there are silos within the organization, if they feel like they have to make trade-offs. And I'm going to make some very, very easy sort of examples of how folks sort of kind of make that connection between. So celebrating the work. A couple of months ago was Cyber Awareness Month. I'm sure you all had big parties within your organizations. We have an all-company meeting every month, and our head of communications, who's sitting right here, she's also the head of the EDI committee. And to her observation was that actually more than 50% of our cybersecurity team is actually female, and it is actually also a very diverse group of individuals. We have people of color, we have lots of different folks within that organization. We have PhDs, and it's a very rich, very talented, very powerful group of individuals. And the proposal from amongst the group planning the agenda from that group was, let's get them on stage and talk about diversity. And I thought, it's Cyber Awareness Month. Let's get them on stage and have them talk about the kick-ass job they're doing to protect our company. Let's have them talk about the risk landscape. Let's have them talk about the scary things that are going on and the investment they're doing and the way they're keeping us all safe. And let's have them talk, I mean, there are PhDs. There's really rich, powerful stuff that is going to blow people's minds, and that's what they should be talking about. Talk about the work. They'll blow everybody's minds. And that is what they got up and talked about. And of course, everybody saw who was standing on the stage. And it's not that we didn't talk about it, it's not that we didn't mention it, it's not that we didn't call it out. But it was a way of talking about, this as a part of something that was fueling an impact on the business. It was a part of what was fueling the impact. It was a part of something that was fueling performance, that everyone was shared, as opposed to, just making it on its own being the headline and having those folks go, wait a minute, do you want to hear Cyber Awareness Month? Do you want to hear what I'm working on? There's kind of some cool stuff going on. Recruiting. I get a lot of phone calls that sort of start like this. I'm working with XYZ amazing organization, and they would like to have more women on their board. Can we call you? And I'm like, so you read everything on the website, and you went through the effort to figure out who I was, and after all of that, that's what you were left with, is that that's what we're going to talk about. So compare that to the next phone call that I would get where somebody says, we have a big interest in managing risk and cybersecurity. We are a big SaaS company. We care a lot about managing risk. And oh, by the way, we have a deep, deep commitment in building a very diverse population across our organization, right? That now I have a sense that I'm going to be sitting in the organization and we're going to have a conversation about what I can bring to the table, as opposed to, possibly not so much. So if you are in the room and you are helping managers build out their position descriptions, understand that the words we're choosing are actually sending out language that is actually turning folks away. The exact people you're trying to bring into the organization, you're actually pushing away because, they want to hear, I'm a sample of one, I want to hear that the reason you're bringing me to the table is because I'm good at what I do. And oh, by the way, we're also going to go on this journey where we're building out a richer landscape for everybody. Because I truly believe what Melanie said before. I have daughters. I have two. They're going to grow up, and my daughter is now a young woman in tech. That is a horrifying experience, by the way. I thought we were doing better until she became a young woman in tech. And then she came home and started telling me stories. And I realized, no, they just weren't happening to me anymore. It's a horrifying experience. When you hire folks, and you talk about sort of your hiring statistics, how are you communicating the success we're having and building out kind of the skill set across the organization? I had a horrifying, a friend of mine actually joined a board, a nonprofit board a couple of years ago. And she had a commitment to build a more diverse board. We all supported it. And so she did a tweet out to the organization, I'm standing in the wrong spot, and said, "At last, I have accomplished my goal of building a gender diverse board, period." That was the end of the tweet. And it did not go the way she thought. Because, first of all, there's a whole bunch of stakeholders in that community. There's a lot more diversity to just gender diversity, first and foremost. And so there was a lot of folks who had thoughts about, well, maybe you hadn't quite gone far enough. And by the way, that wasn't her total agenda, but since you put it out there, let's have that conversation. There was a whole bunch of folks, men who actually wanted to work with her organization, who felt like the door was completely closed to her. It was a very, by the way, those of us who had just joined her board went, like, you didn't say anything about why I'm actually here. Like, so what am I doing here? It was a very unsatisfactory experience all the way around. As opposed to if she had said, hey, by the way, a huge goal of ours has been to like bring a broad set of skills to the board. Now we have cybersecurity, we have SaaS, we have this, we have that. And oh, by the way, we've reached an important milestone along this continuous journey, and we're super excited and we'd love your feedback. Like, that would have had a very different response, right? And what it's going to accomplish or allow us to do in driving the performance of the business is going to be X. And so it's a very different message. And it's going to pull the people that you're trying to attract in your recruiting process, as opposed to sort of push them away. Reviews. I promised I wasn't going to give you statistics, but I can't help this one. There was this amazing piece of, I'll call it internet research, because I promised I was not the scientist, that talked about performance reviews and the use of words that are different between men and women and people of color, and how folks, they surveyed the performance reviews given to a whole variety of different people. And I was astounded, because after 25 years, I thought I'd gotten pretty good performance reviews. And I've realized now that, nope, I'm devastated my whole career. Men were given words like, you're gifted, you're talented, you're brilliant, you're a genius. Women were given words like, you're an overachiever, you're a high performer, which means your success is a result of you exceeding my very low expectations of you. By the way, I always thought that was a good thing when people said you're a high performer, you're an overachiever. I thought, oh, that's good, right? No, not so much. So be very careful in the words. The part that I thought was most insightful was, men were more likely to get specific actionable feedback. If you do this, you're more likely to get that. That will improve the result of the work. Versus women were more likely to get feedback on their personality. You're to this, you're to that, which was not necessarily actionable or something that would drive the benefit of the work. So, reductions. If you believe that diversity is a function of your performance framework, this is a very sensitive topic, because I know a lot of people have had to go through a restructuring over the last couple of months. If you believe this is a part of your performance and you can't possibly think about restructuring without taking a look at how it would affect that part of your performance framework. And so it can't be the only criteria that you're looking at when you go through it, but it has to be one of the many things that you factor in when you're taking a look at that. And is that going to disadvantage you and your ability and your agility and your thought process as you go through? And awards and promotions. This is my very last one. I was a young woman in engineering when I sat in the room and the CEO said, would all the women engineers in the room please stand up? And we all stood up, and then he said, I think he lost his train of thought and he went off and talked about something else. And we all stood there sort of awkwardly humiliated, going, why are we standing here being ogled? This is very awkward. I was in another company and the CEO said, could you please stand up and talk about, the product that you just delivered and what the customer told you about what it did, and we talked about the work. And it was a very, very different experience, right? The first one was, oh gosh, everybody's looking at me. And the second one was, oh my gosh, everybody's talking about my work. This is amazing. Let's go do more. And so good intentions versus good outcome. So, well, that was it. The only thing I wanted to leave you with today was, from the seat of a woman who went from living it for 25 years to trying to lead it. Within my organizations, we've historically had twice the number of women in engineering than industry average. We've tended to be higher on the scale of diversity than what you tend to find out in the organization, gender, as well as the other metrics across. And I believe it's a result of the fact that we focus on the work and the performance and really focus on sort of the one team mantra. And so within the very short period of time, that was my one contribution. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you.
Christy, thanks so much for sharing those remarks and telling us about your personal journey and the journey that you've been on with your team. We're going to do questions after the panel. We'll have time for audience Q&A, but thank you for that. So it is my great pleasure to introduce our next panel, which is a fireside chat hosted by Nneka Emegwa. Nneka is a managing director at Accenture's Cloud First practice. She's a cybersecurity professional and has been with Accenture more than 16 years. She drives thought leadership and engagement for client secure migration to the cloud. Her key focus is on deriving client values from cloud and simplifying security as an enabler for digital transformation. She is based in Houston with her husband and 4 children. And Nneka, we're so delighted to have you here today. Thank you for being here to share your thoughts. And I will turn it over to you to introduce our panelists.
Okay, excellent. Well, thanks everybody. Great opportunity to be here with you all today. I just want to welcome Deidre. Come on up. Okay, yeah. Welcome, Deidre.
It's good to be with you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna sit on the side
awesome.
here.
And the weather is beautiful.
It is.
So, well, I think you've already introduced me, but Deidre is the CEO of Cyversity, which is the largest talent acquisition institution or services company in the US. And she is also the founder of SecureDiversity.org, which is a non-for-profit organization. And I would love for you to tell us a little bit about your companies, but let's start with spring.
Spring.
Yeah. So they say that spring has sprung. So what is your favorite activity for spring?
Yes. Spring flowers, for sure. I mean, being outdoors, walking and seeing the beautiful flowers in spring is my favorite pastime, without a doubt. In any part of this country, doesn't matter where.
Well, I live in Houston, so this is probably the best time to be in Texas. Outside of this time is either too cold or too hot.
Yeah.
So I love spring and I love to take a nice long walk when I can.
Yeah.
So,
Me too. You got to breathe. We need to breathe,
fresh air.
breathe.
Beautiful.
Yes, these chairs are going to be fun. Okay,
All right.
let's do it. Let's do it.
Are you comfortable?
I am now, yeah.
Well, did you
All
get
right.
a chance to get into RSA?
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah?
live here, right? Like at RSA. I don't
Yeah.
leave. This is the time to network. And when you found your own company, never mind be a CEO, you better be networking on a regular basis. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, let's talk a little bit more about Cyversity and just tell us a little bit more and also how you got into cybersecurity.
Yeah. Super important. I really want to also make sure we've got some slides here. I don't know if we did the pass off, but to get into some solutions too. It's founded CyberSN 9 years ago, where talent meets its match, meaning solving the job matching platform that plagues our industry and every industry actually every day, makes this talent shortage a big problem. We can't match each other to jobs very well. So we're solving that / solved it, about to be at scale. And Secure Diversity was founded because when I founded CyberSN 9 years ago with my own money, made in tech, people were asking me, how did I do it? And I didn't realize that they were asking me because I was a woman until very quickly I realized, I should say. And that's when I started thinking, holy cow, wow, I am rare. I represent under 1% women who have founded their own firm, which means use your own money. I'm 9 years in and I'm still in that. We're a software company. So if you know what that means, that's millions of dollars. It's not small money. And so it really made me think, I need to tell everybody how this was done, because it isn't because I'm some special person necessarily, meaning we're all special. So I've got a lot to share and a lot to say, but that's my two companies. And I founded Secure Diversity because I realized, holy cow, I got to get involved in this conversation. I got to help my sisters. And of course, that journey has brought me to helping everybody. It's a lot of fun actually too, because it feels good to give.
That's great. That's great. Would you say your entry into cybersecurity was through the traditional STEM, or was it non-traditional?
Yeah, well, too young of an industry for traditional, but no, yeah. So this story goes along with what I was just saying, in that I am special because we're all special, and really it's about opportunity. So I worked for the same two serial entrepreneurial men for 21 years. They hired me out of college. I was at a bar 13 years into running one of their organizations. It's Motion Recruitment. It was very late night. I was with them, the founders, some of my peers. I was a vice president at the time. And there was 4 vice presidents at the time. And I heard the job of being the first vice president of sales for Rapid7 being pitched to one of my counterparts. And Rapid7 was a company they also owned. And I had the better resume. Without a doubt, I was number 1 of all the VPs. Everybody knew that. There was no question about it. So I turned my head and said, what's going on? You know, how's this happening? I've been cultivated for 13 years with these men to build companies. That's what we're doing. One's up. There's finally one. It's the first one, and it's not me with my resume. What's happening? And I love these men greatly. And this is where great intentions are, is that I had just gotten married, and they thought that I wouldn't move to Boston. And of course, I got the job because that wasn't the case. So my story is that I came in through sales. I loved the cyber community so much. I'm a sociology criminal justice major at school. I almost became a criminal attorney. Realized that's not the place to be very quickly. And so found sales and tech, and I love it, and came into security in 2007.
Okay. Well, I love the fact that you stood up for yourself, and you were like, I have the best CV here. I can do this job. That's awesome.
Yeah. And even better that they had no issues with that. They're like, what? Really? So that person didn't, get the offer. That's for sure.
Well, I'll tell you that.
That wasn't going to happen.
So cybersecurity, it is scary sometimes. And that's why I asked about how you got into it, because I was, let's say, non-traditional. I was a qualified accountant so many years ago. So I've been with Accenture 16 years. And before then, I did other stuff. It was finance. It was accounting. And I decided I wanted to get more into IT. It was very scary. Yeah. And so I had to do all this training and certification and all that, got into IT, and then decided to specialize in cybersecurity. Again, It was a big turnaround in my career, but I took the bold step to do that, and it wasn't easy at all. Yeah. And maybe we'll just take a pause and check with the audience. So how many people would say they got into cybersecurity through the, let's say, non-traditional path? Oh my goodness. Wow. Like half of the audience. That's awesome. That's great. All right. Great. We're on track here. So we have a great diverse audience here as well. So that's great.
Yeah.
I think today's topic is very timely, Deirdre.
Yeah.
If you think about, where better to have this than RSA, right? Yeah. It's how to grow diverse cybersecurity leadership. And I think before we even dive in, let's talk a little bit about the why. Why do we have to have this discussion, right? What are the trends you're seeing that make this a very important and timely one?
Yeah, well, because, I'll be 1% or less than 1% forever. And so will everybody else in terms of wherever they're sitting and their percentage. And that's not good. It's not high performance teams. It's not the ability to protect. If our attackers are diverse, how's that going to work? Never mind that if we can go to one of my slides here, that just being a human, I don't know where the clicker is, but just being a human says that we all want the same things in life. And I have 7 of them here. I've been out there talking about this forever. You know, if not for our hearts and our empathy and our care for everybody else, then do it because your attackers are diverse. Do it because we won't win otherwise. This fight of protecting. Yeah.
I think that's awesome because we need to, when we understand the why, then it makes it easier to participate, right? I mean, to your point, attackers are not just one type of people. It's not one ethnicity. It's not one gender. It's diverse. And so if we want to stay ahead of them, we have to think like them to get ahead of them. So we need the diverse thoughts and thinking and innovation and all that. And I know Chetna had mentioned like generative AI. I think that's like the best definition of diversity. If you think about what it does and taking all that data from disparate systems and making sense of it, that's diversity right there. So again, thank you. So if you think about what's working, what would you say is working? All the companies that are doing so well, because I think you have a really good position where you see a lot of, you know, people go in and go out. What's working?
Yeah, it's good in that I can see it. It's not fun to see it, right? I mean, we've got massive retention issues because this isn't happening. What behind me needs to be what culture is. This is the definition of culture. And if one thing's off, then you don't have a culture that will retain and develop people. And I'll argue any person. And I'll argue it because I've got data that says that even the most senior of cyber professionals don't stay at their jobs longer than 18 months. So if the people that are running the show are moving around every 18 months, and on average, it takes that person at least a year to find their next opportunity, literally, then how are we committed to the people that work there and the work that needs to be done to cultivate them and train them and develop them and create succession planning? Now, I don't blame those people that are moving every 18 months. It's not their fault they're moving every 18 months. It's the CEO's fault, as far as I'm concerned, and their team, that this isn't in place so that doesn't happen. And so we have challenges in, of course, having enough people, never mind diversity in cybersecurity, but we have the challenge of even adopting them to be successful just as much because we've got this problem. And we just had a massive economic shift hit us 6 months ago. And whenever that hit started, or when a hit like that starts, we see less of this behind me. And so right now, as much as progress as we're making, thank goodness for firms like Accenture and Google and groups like Diversity and Berkeley, we're still moving forward. We're making progress, but we're in the same system as the people that we need to help us, which are men, white men that run everything, dealing with keeping this in place so that they can even stick together, right? I mean, that's what the numbers say. So we've got to own this stuff here. And there's some really particular things back here that we're just doing wrong that's already been talked about, which is literally defining roles and responsibilities and such that measurable performance can actually happen, which is one of the things that we fail at the most. We joke about it with job descriptions, but a job description should be a measurable agreement in terms of what somebody's doing. So, there's a lot of bittersweetness to absorb right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you mentioned numbers too. And I was reading something. It was a research by ISC Squared. And it talked about part of the findings was that even though women are like 51% of the US population, they are 24% of the cybersecurity workforce. And so just make it, I don't know how correct that is, but that's the finding I saw. And so, I think the retention part you mentioned, let's dig deep into that.
Yeah, I mean, so let's look at 24%. There are 10 categories of job functions, or excuse me, job categories in cybersecurity. You can see them at cybersn.com and our Career Center and everything else. There's 45 functional roles. So that 24% spreads across many different types of roles, to include sales engineering, where you see more women. So I think that what we need to do moving forward is start to look at these verticals, because the tech ones are the least, still the case that there's less women in the more technical cyber roles. And the story of one's daughter coming home with stories that we all still hear about is happening. So we're not, what that progress is across so many roles now. It used to be that we just looked at the tech roles. And so it feels better to branch out to all these other roles. And I'm happy that we are, because we should be looking at them all. And yet, retention, when you're the one person on the team and you're not getting training and developing like I got and like our keynote earlier got, that, you got. I mean, Accenture's story is so beautiful. You're 16 years and we heard 27 earlier. I'm 21 with those guys across 3 different companies. I mean, if that's the answer, it's investing, it's caring, it's developing, and it's going out of our way to do so. I do believe it needs to be done for everybody still, but certainly minorities more.
Absolutely. And we're going to get to audience questions, but I think it's really important, the retention side of things, because if they come in, right, there's a lot about recruiting and making sure we have the right job descriptions. But if they come in and they don't see the opportunities, they don't see growth and, training and support, they're just going to leave anyway. Right. So it's very important we emphasize that. So that's great.
Yeah, I think that's up there too, right? To feel valued or to have a career path. I mean, you can.
A lot of that fall on that.
Everything
retention.
falls here. This is old too. I wish to say it was new. It's not. It's super old.
Okay.
And it's not easy, I mean, is it as hard as putting people on the moon? No, I always say to myself. And yet it's not easy to do these things, because capitalism says, this isn't the way it is. I mean, it does. There's winners and losers in capitalism. So by definition, some people will not be developed and cultivated. They will be used and abused. And so we must recognize that. We're not going to change it. It's not going to, I wish I could. We're not. So let's work within it, especially us most privileged, to work within it to make this happen. We can force capitalism to do this. Companies have and are, and it means, less greed. But other than that, it can be done. It's not like it's easy just because we want to. I mean, the markets are on profits and loss and better, faster, cheaper, as fast as can. And it's hard to create a cultivating culture like this and that. But we can do it.
I agree. And that's why we started with the why. If there's a reason to do it, we should definitely do it, right? We want to get ahead of the threats. So let's not forget that point. Awesome. How about we take a couple of audience questions? Any questions or comments? Oh, yeah.
Hi, Diane Gandara. My question is, and I just heard this the other night, is it a KPMG discussion where a man came up to me and he said, you're going to have better opportunities than we are. And he was, a male white man. And I didn't almost know what to say to him, other than be a part of this. Do you have any other suggestions?
Yeah, I love the way you didn't get upset, didn't get mad. EQ, if we could, there's another slide here that says emotional intelligence says that we have empathy, and that we care for others. And just because we think that somebody's feelings may not be valid doesn't mean we have to treat them poorly. So I think being in the conversation is better. So, what you did was keep the conversation open. So, why do you feel that way? Get the person to share what they're feeling. I can imagine that that's true for that person, because job searching is a broken garbage system, whether you're a white man or not. It feels terrible. In fact, I think imposter syndrome is a big piece of it, is the broken job matching system. How many times can you be told no and still think you're valuable? You know, meanwhile, you're being told no because you shouldn't even been talking to that person to begin with. It wasn't the right fit, and it could have been figured out before you even talked to those people. But that's newer technology like we have. In the meantime, it's been terrible. So I'm sure that person's feeling that way. There are plenty of white men who are looking for jobs for long periods of time. That doesn't mean that we don't have this issue. It doesn't mean that there isn't less opportunity for us.
I think what it's also doing is it's driving them to the events to be more curious and to listen to the messaging. But I think what men can take from this is to amplify women. And when you amplify women, then you will be amplified in that process. And so the more you do that, the more you will elevate your own career. I kid you not, I've already seen this happen.
Oh, for sure. I mean, lifting up, paying forward, bringing people with you. It's karma. It's energies. They'll either come back to you. They will come back to you. And if they're positive, they're going to come back to you positive. If you're putting out negative, they're going to come back to you negative. So yes, absolutely. Get involved. And they have to. It's one of the reasons why I like them in the room and I want them in the conversation, because at the end of the day, the numbers show that's who's running the show. So we need those people, those men, to help us and help themselves. And we need to be kind. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, over here.
Yeah. Oh.
And aggressive.
Hello. So I was wondering, throughout your career, what are some of the major learning points or takeaways that you've gotten that helped you grow into a leader that you would give for advice for someone that's looking to get into leadership and develop themselves?
I love that. Yes. Perfect cue for the last slide. So I've been asked this question many a times. No, the second to last slide. I'm not going to use this one. Yeah. I've been asked this question many a times. And so I put all the answers on a tree because EQ says, emotional intelligence says, your skills in EQ can grow for the rest of your life. They don't stop growing like our IQ stops growing at full development of our brains. And so I put it on a tree to say, you know, trees outlive us. At least that's how I feel when I'm with them. And so, you know, these are the lessons I've learned, that if I don't use lean language, I'm not gonna be in the success seat. If I don't figure out what win-win communication is, or if I didn't own win-win communication, I wouldn't be sitting here, right? If I didn't trust people, I wouldn't be sitting here. If I didn't make and manage measurable agreements, I wouldn't be sitting here. It's like the number one thing not to err on, because when we err on making and managing measurable agreements, we leave power and politics to decide performance. And that's a problem for minorities. So, you know, this tree is skills. These are skills. And when they're owned, they create great careers. And I was trained to own this, by the way. Maybe some of the words a little bit different in my career as I've elevated them. But those guys I worked for had and were all about training and developing people in all departments. And these were things I got to learn.
And I can almost actually call them like power skills. You can call them soft skills, you know, whatever, but I think they're power skills. It's not about the years of experience. It's great to bring years of experience, but really, these skills make or break you, like your career, right?
Yes, without
it's
a doubt.
really looking at that passion you have, the professional development, and, you know, how you align with the company. So I think these are really powerful skills to apply to your question.
I don't know about anyone else in this room, but one of the experiences that I had as a woman in technology is because I was a very good communicator, I was pushed very hard into marketing roles or that kind of thing, which I resisted. But how do we communicate if we are not a developer, but we are technical? right? What is kind of the best tactic for diffusing the, oh, you're a good communicator, go into marketing, go into whatever else that isn't considered technical? How do you push back against that you're not technical enough kind of mentality?
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, say no for sure.
Definitely.
But when you're younger, it's harder, right? I said earlier, like when you're younger, it's much harder to say no. But I think that, sales and marketing, first of all, if you're saying no because you don't like those roles, then you want to explain what you don't like about the roles and take the suggestion as a compliment. Because, I mean, traditionally the sales and marketing make the most money. I mean, maybe sales more than marketing, but I mean, seriously, don't look at it as a negative and then explain why you're not interested in that role. It's as simple as that. I don't think we need to concern ourselves with anything other than being true to ourselves and explaining what we're thinking. So I appreciate that you said that. I know that my communication skills are of high value. I believe they'll be of high value on the technical side of things. And I really like solving these complex technical questions or problems. And I'm happy here. So thank you for the offer. Right. So we call it KKP, kiss, kick, push in my training and what we do, which is, you always start with a kiss and be thankful that was a compliment. Trying to help. It's kind of like the guy's trying to not promote, give me the opportunity because, I'm staying home.
Yeah, I think my problem and the problem that I see with the women that I mentor is that we can't seem to pivot that into a promotion within a technical track. And we end up leaving our organizations in order to get that more technical promotion.
Yeah. We're technical or not, women are capping out before executive seats, which is why I just developed those 3 SANS executive cohorts with SANS. It's, I'm watching it as clear as day. And I think a lot of that is less about being a woman consciously and more about the network that men have. The network of people that they know from schools that they went to where they bonded and were out and had all those relationships, and they're, it's comfortable to go with people in those executive roles. I think is a lot about it, although that's subconscious. Still the same thing of not giving the woman an opportunity. So in general, and women interview differently and women communicate their strengths differently, and those seats, people think they want to hear a certain interview. So there's a lot to my point in that. We need to change the game. Yes.
Sorry, I think we have room for one more question.
Okay, sure. Thanks. Michael Retimo here. So there's been a lot of discussion about having members of the board with cybersecurity experience. How do we position and get minorities into getting into the board from a cybersecurity standpoint?
Yeah. Well, so far that's a new thing. Cyber professionals on the board is a new thing / barely happening, right? They're barely reporting to the CEO really hasn't happened yet. So we got that fight to do. And I think that comes down to, this lean language, lean, clean, clear language. We as a community are struggling explaining risk from the perspective of the CEO's ability to make really good decisions. If you think about it, cybersecurity has become, every year more and more and more money has to be spent to be secure. A lot less has to be spent to be compliant. A lot more has to be spent to be secure. And the delta between compliance and security is quite massive. So we better be able to speak that language clear enough to be asked to be in that boardroom first, because we're barely being asked to be in there. And then the rest is, promoting each other.
Okay, just quickly.
Yeah. Santa Clara University has a program that I learned of where they're training folks to be on boards. I think it's coming up in June, if you want to check that out. Bob Zerkis, he is an instructor at Harvard University, and he's running like a domino conference, and he's training folks in cybersecurity. with regard to board level, what you need to know. It's in conjunction with the Department of Homeland Security, NIST, and the SEC. And then there's other females, if you'd like, for the females in the room. Another gal, Michelle Ashby, who is specifically running board programs to place females on paid boards. And I can connect with me and I will connect you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes.
Oh,
Just because I know so many people are looking for this, actually. So NACD, the Directors College, you can go online there. Carnegie Mellon is actually has a cybersecurity for boards program. So if you get your NACD membership, you can take public board certifications, and you can take the Carnegie Mellon. Both Stanford and on the West Coast, there are also directors colleges you can sign up for. There's a private directors as well as a public board directors college you can sign up for. And there are actually specific board recruiting firms that are actually doing specific practices around finding cyber talent. And by the way, there is a whole other set of board search practices that we've been working with that are looking for candidates we'll call it anyways, cyber / sort of other skills. And we can kind of go on a side conversation. Anyways, so I can give you guys a list. There's one up in Toronto and there's another one kind of on the East Coast. And 2 boards I've worked with have actually hired them to go bring in cyber talent. There's a hot market for finding CISOs on boards right now. So get your credentials.
All right, excellent. I think we're at time, but I do have one more point or one more question, because you mentioned how our careers can cap as women. And so that gets me thinking about working moms, right? What makes them leave even before they get to leadership? And do you have tips and tricks for working moms?
Gosh, we talked about this a little bit when we met the other day. Working moms, working dads, it's a lot. It's a lot. And the support that's needed is massive. And it really comes down to working for organizations that support having children for women. It has to be a significant amount of support. And I don't think most have that. So, for instance, if I had children at the time, which I could have, I was in my 30s, the young 30s with that job. If I had children, I would not have been at that bar. So I most likely would not have become the vice president of sales for Rapid7. And that is how I got where I'm at today. So meaning it's a barrier that we have to figure out. Now, the bar days aren't as popular as they were in the early 2000s, but it's just a different thing. It's whether it's golf or whether it's travel. Spending time with seniors and people you report to, it's hard to do if you have children at home. And so that is a problem.
Okay. Well, I support that because it's really hard. I do have 4 kids, so I know it is very hard.
Yeah.
However, just in terms of tips, I would say, some of the things that helped me, maybe 2 things I would add is, one is the company I was working for. When I got into Accenture, my kids 3 of them were toddlers and, quickly became 4. And, I had to check everything Accenture could offer me, right? In terms of company policies around leave of absence. I know I went part-time at some point, like for a period. At some point, I took some time off. I took the childcare options. Everything they had, I took it, right? Just to help me get through it. And I would say the second thing is also to advocate for yourself too. So I know that at some point, I have one of my kids who is differently enabled. So she needed me many years ago to stop work at 3:00, come to her school and take her to speech therapy. And so that was something I needed to do for a period. And, where's that in any policy? So I had to go to my boss and say, this is my situation. And they were able to make arrangements for me and accommodations. So I think being able to understand what stage you are in life, you might not have the kids now, but maybe you're planning to, or maybe not, right? The good thing is that we have a lot of examples. We have working parents that are successful. So be open to communicate what your needs are and advocate for what you need to be successful. So
Yeah, and work for Accenture because because there aren't many companies that do that.
Right.
And thank goodness. I mean, you're the managing director of the security cloud practice with over 300 people in the department, and having 4 kids. Accenture supported you in that opportunity, and that's rare, which is why you're rare, why we're rare, which is what we have to change. If we want it to change, we have to change that, and we need more Accenture programs, right? Yeah, without a doubt.
all right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Deidre Diamond, thank you for being
Thank
with
you,
us
Mecca.
today. Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, leave that up. We'll have folks take pictures of it. So how about another round of applause for the speakers? Deidre, Christy, thank you very much. And also for everything that happens behind the scenes. A lot of work goes into planning these events. I want to thank Accenture again for hosting this year, the team from CLTC and our local Bay Area chapter for Cyversity for really pulling this together now annually. All right, we keep setting the bar even higher and higher. So look out for what we're going to do next year. And for those of you that are in the room and are looking for a place to put your energy as it relates to this topic and the topics that all stream from events like this, think about becoming members of Cyversity. The big benefit of attending events like this is really the networking power that you get. Do not leave this room without getting business cards and making contacts with the folks that are in this room. We can all help one another. Thanks for attending, and we'll see you guys around the landscape.